Well, I need to welcome you back, and we'll see with the big story for today. And we're talking about that very judgment yesterday of the Presidential Election Tribunal. And we're talking about the petition being thrown away and affirming the victory of no other but President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And the reactions that seem to have greeted that very judgment is what we're looking at, as also we'll be looking at the next move of the petitioners, just as we're also looking at the judgment itself and the ground for that very judgment that was delivered by the 5-man panel yesterday. 12 hours lasted, the longest ever in the history of Nigeria, especially as it concerns any judgment. But anyway, do not go anywhere. Just stick around and let's see how we can really look at all the issues, because I still have both of my guests right here in the studio. I'm talking of no other person but Barrister Emmanuel Rire and also Barrister Loke Esanuwe, and also joining us in Abuja all the way through the phone, and we're talking of no other person but Barrister Ejiro Itagene. But what we'll do now, let's quickly go and get the message from our sponsors. We're talking about Benita Gas, located right here in Ugeli, Okokoko, and also Warrior and Environs. And when we come back, we'll continue our discussion centered on the big story for today.
How person want to talk about gas matter? Make Benita gas plant no sit down for him matter. Gas when we say it dey light and last well. Now Benita gas plant na filamo. Gas when the full rich mark pek. Now Benita gas plant na filam, and for any type and size of gas cylinder plus all accessories. Now Benita gas plant na dey touch lighter. Now every day now Benita gas plant dey open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. On top refill matters. Oh yeah, make you visit any Benita gas plant branch. You fit enter inside of Kwisoko of Jakpa Road, opposite UBA for PTI Road, Efru, Nehemiah Junction, near former Army checkpoint for Okwokoko, all 101 Ajami Moga Ekpe Road, Warri, or 145 Ugeli Patani Expressway by Aviation Junction when carry eye they look Shikiman, and NNPC roundabout for East Soko Road for Sergeant Quarters for Ugeli. For more information, make you call Benita Gas Plant for 080-6745-7890. Benita Gas Plant. Na God, they our back.
Well, those are our sponsors of the big story, but you do know the big story is big enough to accommodate all your businesses. All you need to do, come right here and let's have that discussion. But anyway, let's quickly continue with the discussion we're having, and we're talking about the judgment of yesterday and also the reactions that seem to have greeted that very judgment.
Yes.
And that's what we're looking at. Barrister Ejiro Itagene, you're still there with us?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, I'll plead with you to hold on. But quickly, let me come back to you, Barrister Emmanuel Rire. Now, let's go to the mode of transmission of results, which the Labour Party and its candidate, Peter Obi, called for the annulment of Tinubu'S election due to the failure of the Commission result viewing portal to upload election result electronically in real time. Now, the panel said, according to Section 52 and 65 of the Electoral Act 2022, INEC was at liberty, and that's what he said, liberty to prescribe or the manner in which the election results were to be transmitted during the poll. So please help me explain that, because I'm a bit confused. Would it be fair to transmit a certain result real time and another different result at a different time, and both of them were done at the same time, at the same day? So I really don't understand. Looking at that judgment of yesterday and the reason for them to say INEC has the liberty, would that be fair?
Well, when you talk about the issue of fairness,
yes,
with respect to INEC's
decision,
responsibility or decision or mode of transmission, I think what was canvassed before the courts, or what was INEC's position, okay, with respect to the electronic mode of transmitting the results, I think they allege some fears of hijack by some persons.
Of course.
That they don't want a situation whereby different results will be displayed, yes, and people could not access the authentic result coming from INEC.
So it was not unfair that they did that?
It was not unfair. In the real sense of it, it was not unfair. And I believe that was why the court in its own wisdom told their line of reasoning, because they are the electoral umpire. I believe that everyone who has been in the field of play in the context deserve a victory. Nobody wants to fail at the end of the day, but At the end of the day, one winner must emerge.
Yes.
Now, the winner that has emerged has been taken to court.
Okay.
And the loser has also gone to court to challenge his victory. And also identify the issues presented before the electoral tribunal. Okay. And the court, what the court does, like I always tell people, the court is not a magician. The court will not at the venue or the exercise or what transpired. It's what you present before him or the court that the court decides. So if an electoral umpire who has been taken to court and said that yes, we have regulations, we have an enabling statute on how we could transmit these results electronically. But along the line, this was what we discovered. And we don't want an issue that will escalate more. We decided to adopt this mode. Then for God's sake, the court will only
So you felt the court judgment was based on that explanation of INEC?
Very well.
Okay, now, by Ejiro Etagene.
Yes.
Yes, that's what the panel said yesterday, that INEC has his right to transmit the results anytime he feels. But we also do know that when we had the Electoral Act 2022 signed into, or the bill signed into law by former President Muhammadu Buhari, the issue of transmission of results came on board. And INEC told all Nigerians that they were going to transmit it real time. So would it be fair now that they're coming out with such belief that they have, and funny enough, the panel also took that they have the right to transmit when they feel they need? Because what I'm asking, remember the presidential election was done on the same day at the same time as that of the National Assembly. And they were able to transmit that of the National Assembly and that of the presidential. Well, anyways, it took them some time. So my question, would it be a fair thing to say that?
Well, you remember when this issue, during the amendment of the Electoral Act 2022 came up, I was also here in the studio to discuss this issue with you.
Of course you will.
Because they posed a lot of problems, they posed a lot of challenge, and the legislators in their wisdom made an amendment. And in that amendment to that, this clause 82 or thereabouts, in that amendment, they gave a wide discretion, or a wider discretion to INEC on how and the mode of transmission of election results. When you give a discretionary power to someone, you do not control the person on how to carry it out. And so what the electoral tribunal merely did yesterday was to interpret the law and say, look, we have looked at the Electoral Act and the Constitution. We did not see any law that compels or makes it mandatory for INEC to transmit the election results electronically. It is not mandatory. And if they fail to do so, it does not vitiate the validity of the election. That is exactly what the tribunal held. And that is what is there in the law. And this is not the first time any court in Nigeria is interpreting that. So the court is saying, look, failure to upload the results to the IREG does not vitiate the election because, one, Labour Party, for example, admitted that they have fully agents in all the formations of the election.
Yes.
And that these agents received hard copies of the form ECHA, ECHG, and down like that. All the forms, all the result sheets, they have them. So the failure to upload the result does not in any way vitiate or affect the validity of the election. It's a sound law, and I agree with them in totality. They did not say, they did not invalidate the BVAC, they did not invalidate electronic transmission of the result. They are saying, look, failure to do so does not in any way invalidate.
Okay, well,
and they also considered, they considered the explanation of INEC, particularly the INEC chairman, who said 2 days to the election that it was going to be impossible for them to upload the results as a result of the activities of hackers. So that document was admitted in evidence by the tribunal, and they considered it.
Okay,
So
well, Barrister Ejiro, because of time, I will quickly want to throw this to you before I come to Barrister Locke. Now, still looking at the Labour Party and Peter Obi, the tribunal ruled that the Labour Party failed to prove that Tinubu was convicted for money laundering in the United States. The panel ruled that no record of criminal arrest or conviction was established against Tinubu by the petitioner. And we're talking about Peter Obi and the Labour Party. And the court admitted that Tinubu also allegedly forfeited $460,000 in the U.S. over 3 decades ago. Now, by saying is that not enough proof to say something like that happened?
The tribunal heard that it happened.
So is that not proof to say that there was a criminal thing against Tinubu 3 decades ago?
You asked a question, allow me to answer it, Mr. Michael.
Please go ahead.
Yes, there are 2 procedures generally in law. Either a matter is criminal or civil in nature.
Okay.
Well, in America, where these issues arose, the Forfeiture Act, the tribunal cited the law yesterday.
Yes.
In this section, there is a provision for civil forfeiture, there is a provision for criminal forfeiture. In the one for civil forfeiture, what is targeted is the property, either money or landed property or cars or movable or immovable property.
Yes.
But the one for the crime, a crime involves the individual. So the section under which Tinubu was brought to the court was the one that pertains to civil action and not criminal action. What was involved was his bank account and not him as a person. He did not commit any crime. Rather, proceeds of crime was paid into his account. If I'm a lawyer and maybe a kidnapper paid money into my account, you will not say I've committed an account. But my bank account has committed an offense in the eye of the law.
So all you are saying, your bank account is not you.
Hold on. So what the court did was consider 4 documents. Number 1, the letter written by the former Inspector General of Police to the American Embassy in Nigeria.
Of course.
Seeking for clarification whether Tinubu was ever arrested or involved in any criminal activity.
Okay. And
the response from the U.S. officials saying that they have searched all their records, that Tinubu was never arrested, whether was he prosecuted for any crime. That is coming from the America. Now, the witness that Obi and Labour Party called under cross-examination admitted under cross-examination that Tinubu was not fined, Tinubu was not convicted, and that the section under Tinubu was brought falls under civil proceeding and not criminal proceeding. What is more?
Okay.
The court said, he who asserts must prove.
Of course.
If I say that a man is a criminal, I must prove it beyond reasonable doubt.
That he is a criminal.
And I haven't failed to prove that Tinubu was ever arrested, Tinubu was ever charged to court, Tinubu was ever prosecuted, Tinubu was ever convicted, Tinubu was ever sentenced or fined, that these elements which constitute convictions were out of the evidence.
Okay.
In other words, the Labour Party and Obi were unable to supply evidence to prove that Tinubu was convicted. Consequently, in the absence of evidence, the proper thing for the court to do is to reject that particular assertion.
Okay, Barrister again, I'll plead with you to hold on. Barrister Locke, you heard all he said. Is he in order? And do you feel the panel gave the right judgment that it concerns that?
Well, before I quickly react, I want to say that this judgment of the Presidential Tribunal delivered yesterday, especially the lead judgment delivered by Haruna Samani, both the PDP, APC, Labour Party and APM, they benefited from it in the sense that it reached our jurisprudence in Nigeria. Okay. Now, let's talk about the transmission of results. Like I did say that when we are considering the issue, three statutes that will come to mind: the Constitution, the Electoral Act, and the Evidence Act. Yes. I did not mention INEC regulations. On the issue of transmission, rules and regulations, it is the INEC rules and regulations that provide for electronic transmission of results.
And not the law.
It's not the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act give them the leverage, the discretion to use any mode. And mind you, like the tribunal did say that the IREF itself is not even a collation center.
Yes.
It's not a collation center. That failure
it's not a collation center.
It's not a collation center. Now, and the one issue the Labour Party canvassed was that the failure to transmit electronically, it was deliberate to manipulate the election. Yeah. The question is that him who has that, did he prove? How will you prove that it was intentional to manipulate they couldn't prove it. Hence, on that aspect, the tribunal are very correct to reach that decision. Like my learned friend rightly said, that when you give a man discretion, you don't tell him that this is how you will exercise it. It will no longer be a discretion. Now go to the issue of whether the Tinubu president, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a convict. Yes. Like I did say a while ago that the decision of the panel reached our jurisprudence. Okay. Through this, we have been able to know civil forfeiture and criminal forfeiture. We are made to understand that in a civil forfeiture, it is a proceeding against a realm, that is the property. While in a criminal forfeiture, it's a proceeding against the person himself. And that in a criminal forfeiture, there must be indictment, the trial of the person involved, conviction and sentence. Tinubu was not indicted, he was not tried, he was not convicted and sentenced. Therefore, you cannot say that he's a convict. I think the tribunal, let me quickly conclude, I think the tribunal were right to have reached that decision.
Okay, well, Brother Loki, Brother Emmanuel Eriri, I really would also want us to deepen this discussion as it concerns that, because, yes, it now differentiates when you say someone, a criminal proceedings and that of a civil, and the forfeiture of $460,000 3 decades ago is made to show that, because like he said, there was no conviction, rather was there any trial that ended in any conviction of it. So do you feel also that bringing up that issue before the court and before the tribunal itself is not necessarily required to deal with the issue of the legitimacy of Tinubu's election itself by the Labour Party?
Yes, like I said earlier on, I said when a man is aggrieved, as it is with the current parties before the tribunal,
yes,
whose issues have been determined, though not satisfied. The Labour Party, the APM, and the PDP, as well as their candidates. The stronghold against the president was that the president was not qualified under Section 134 of the Electoral Act, upon which grounds of qualification they came to the tribunal. Now, like my colleagues have rightly said, the judgment of the Presidential Election Tribunal yesterday have elaborated and expounded our electoral jurisprudence. And by the special grace of God, I believe the entire world, because thank God that proceeding was televised.
Yes.
If it wasn't televised, a lot of comments
might have
arisen. But thank God it was televised, even though some people did not understand what was happening. Because we were like,
because of time, by Emmanuel Eriri, did the Labour Party did the right thing of bringing up that very case before the tribunal?
The Labour Party was right to have brought it, because if they had not brought it, the judges wouldn't have given us a holistic. Yes, because issues that are not brought before the court cannot make pronouncement on them.
Of course. So
by bringing it, in fact, I will commend them, because now we will be able to understand in clear terms that there's a criminal forfeiture and there's a civil forfeiture. So whatever forfeiture that the man made there, the distinction has been made by the panel. To say civil forfeiture has to do with the realm.
Because what I'm asking is, it's not like I'm prejudiced, but this matter might also go to the Supreme Court.
Very well.
Issue.
Very well. And we're waiting for the Supreme Court pronouncement on it. Okay, and I will bound to bet you that the Supreme Court will not differ from what the
let's wait a bit. I'll plead with both of you to wait a bit. Just as Barrister Ejire tagging there. Let's wait a bit and go on a break. But when we come back, we'll now look at the issue that concerns the People's Democratic Party. And also, we're talking about the dual citizenship of Tinubu and the issue of the elections and the judgment yesterday. Let's go on a break.